This was Rogers Arena after 9 years of playoff-starved Vancouver fans hungry for postseason hockey. And to say it was incredible is probably an understatement. This was the first playoff game for half of the Canucks roster, and they've now got a taste of true playoff hockey in Vancouver.
As the Canucks have come up, got a change, but here's the Predators, and Demko! 20 points. There's another chance they score!
But what we saw was only game 1. But then, this happened.
Marty, losing Demko is a big blow for the Canucks. The question is simple. Can they survive without him?
Arguably the most important player in the Canucks lineup was injured after playing only one playoff game. And before we knew it, Chaos Giraffe caught the flu, and that meant they were facing Nashville without two very important players. Alright, game 2. The atmosphere was incredible before the game, and we even got to see Kessler and Higgins. Same story. Rogers Arena was buzzing as usual, but the Canucks kept shooting themselves in the foot. Nashville scored on their first shot of the game, but to be honest, it wasn't really Casey DeSmith's fault. You see, the Canucks missed 4 power plays and took 4 more against. Like, you can't give Nashville a power play when you're down by 2 with 5 minutes left. It's just not gonna work. That was the problem. If you're down a couple goals like the Canucks were yesterday, you've got to use the special team advantage to get some back. But they didn't. The big stars in game 1 were invisible, and the hockey gods weren't feeling the most generous to a few players tonight. It was Nashville who was blocking shot after shot, keeping pucks from reaching UC Saros in net. And for them, it actually worked. The Canucks only had 18 shots on net, and when you're down by 2 goals, that's usually not a great sign. So now, every Canadian team has now played against their opponent, and we've got a sense of how they stack up against their matchups. Alright, let's go to Toronto. The Leafs, of course, are always an emotional roller coaster, and this year is no different. After being embarrassed in game 1,
cannot stomach this hockey team!
Matthews decided that he was going to take matters into his own hands and score an absolute beauty to leave everyone speechless. Heck, even the announcers were left without words. Insane. On to game 3. The Leafs scored the icebreaker, but the Bruins, with Brad Marchand, made things extremely tough and eventually scored the game winner. Ultimately, the Leafs couldn't convert on their 5 power plays, and that costed them this game. Edmonton. The Oilers in game 1 had an absolute barn burner, letting the Kings know that their best wasn't good enough. And sure enough, in game 2, they responded. The Oilers were down 2-0 and 3-1 before tying things up, but you could tell LA was making things pretty difficult. Both teams scored again to send it into overtime, where the Kings managed to claw one back from Edmonton to tie the series up. Stuart Skinner had a rough start, saving 21 out of 26, and Game 3 is a must-win game for the Oilers as the Kings have home ice advantage. And if you're a Canucks fan, you're probably hoping the Oilers can finish off the Kings, but they've got their own problems to deal with. Nobody, not one single person in Vancouver, wants to face the Kings in the second round. If you're having trouble getting 20 shots against the Predators, you're probably not going to like the Kings very much. Alright, Winnipeg. First of all, the whiteout was absolutely incredible. This is the type of stuff you play 82 games for, and honestly, out of the 4 Canadian teams, they probably got the best playoff atmosphere out of those 4. Despite Winnipeg beating the heck out of Colorado in the regular season, playoff Colorado was something different. Like Vancouver, Game 2 was a bigger challenge than expected. The Avs scored 3 straight in 5 minutes, and that was the game. But how do these 4 Canadian teams compare to each other? The Leafs have a relatively difficult road ahead of them in the East, assuming they win against Boston, which is, if you ask me, a pretty big ask. They've got to face either the Bolts or the Panthers. Yikes. Winnipeg doesn't have it any easier than Toronto though, as they've got to deal with beating the Avs on the road before even thinking about round 2. But if Vancouver and Edmonton both make it past round 1, this could be the series that decides the West. I'd give Edmonton the edge for their offense, but their goaltending is nowhere near the level of Demko if he returns. And that is a big if. We've seen Demko single-handedly win games before for the Canucks in the playoffs, but then again, if Vancouver continues to deal with struggling injuries, their run in the playoffs might be cut short. And with Casey DeSmith and Stuart Skinner, it's a much fairer matchup in goal. If the Canucks can match Edmonton's offense, along with getting a few saves in net, the Canucks could get themselves a ticket to the conference final. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Is Vancouver the best Canadian team right now, or do you think losing Demko is going to cost them really badly in the playoffs? Let us know down below. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
We want to win for you guys, and unfortunately we didn't, but you got a good team now, and hopefully they're posed for a long run.